All right, Zach, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Is the
Right.
force is the force with you? I have
Yes.
my alcoholic beverage. I have to cope.
May the force be with you, Master.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. Oh. Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Mm. So
Urgh.
so this week so this week we watched Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
Um that classic Star Wars film. Which I still had you seen the clip of did
I
I forgot
watched
to
it. I
show it to you
watched
before
it
we watched it.
after you mentioned it. I did watch it. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Isn't that good? That's like one of my favorite things.
Ewan McGregor's
Attack of the
reaction.
Clones. He's just laughing. So yeah.
All
So
right.
I'm trying to think of like where the best place to start is. I want you I I don't like this movie.
Okay.
I shouldn't say that. I
Oh.
like the movie. I think this might be my least favorite Star Wars movie, maybe. Um,
Why did you see?
so
Okay.
okay, so like where to even start?
Yeah,
I
I
guess
feel like overall,
yeah,
I didn't enjoy this as much as I enjoyed the Phantom Menace, even, and
yeah, which is saying a lot to me.
it's just like it's crazy how they went from the little Anakin who was kind of weird and annoying to the a little older Anakin who's kind of weird and annoying in a different way.
Yeah,
And
yes,
there's so
it's a
much of
different.
him. There's so much of his dialogue in this movie too. It's like, oh,
Oh
every
man.
every scene I was like, oh god, here we go again.
Okay, so here's an interesting thing. I didn't realize this before. Um, I still blame George Lucas mostly,
Damn.
but he wasn't the only writer on this film. This
Hmm.
was a co-written screenplay,
Okay.
which to me makes it worse because that means somebody,
Two minds came together and
that means someone read through the script and was like, "Oh yeah, okay, this stuff's fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah." It's like, "No, none of this is
this is
okay."
not okay. Um,
Um, yeah, okay.
so 3 minutes into the movie, I was like, I paused. I was like, this is 3 minutes in. He's like, I guess I was wrong. There's no danger at all. Explosion. I was like, oh god.
I was
All
gonna
right.
say that watching it again this time, that's almost comedic timing.
It is. It's definitely comedic. I was like, what
I
the?
laughed.
That's goofy.
I
I
laughed
laughed
while I
too.
was watching it. It was like
Well,
it
there's no
was
danger at all. Instantly explosion.
it was yeah.
Immediate danger.
It is
Uh,
that's stuff you see on Boy Meets World, like stuff like that. Well, they'll say something,
and
it's not gonna happen like that, and of course it happened.
that's how
Something
they
happened.
opened the movie. It was supposed to be like, oh man, a big like, uh, there was like an attack. There was an assassination attempt, but it was really like goofy in the delivery. It
Um,
was like, oh, explosion, but I don't, it's like nothing happened to anyone, right? Because it's just a random goofy explosion. No, people died. It was an
yeah,
attempt.
and then she also goes like, I failed you, Senator," and it's like, um, wasn't the whole point for you to be a decoy? Wasn't didn't you then do your job pretty
Uh,
well by dying for her? I feel like
well,
that's not failing her.
yeah, well.
I failed you. Also, apparently, I guess every politician has a decoy in Star Wars universe now because she had a decoy when she was a queen. Now she has a decoy still when she's a senator. I guess the Nubians are just very
The decoy just stays.
mistrusting of everyone.
Yeah, the decoy just stays on the payroll with whoever they're with.
So maybe
Um,
Palpatine has one. Did Palpatine have a decoy?
yeah, yeah. Jar Jar even has a decoy for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll start. I just have random notes, so I'm like, I don't know where to go. I just wrote notes
yeah.
as I was watching
It's
it.
it's it's hard to it's hard to like parse this movie out like methodically
So,
because like a lot of the awfulness is just compounded from the previous film. It's just like the plot kind of doesn't it's simple, but yet it still doesn't make sense. Um, because characters do and say things that are infuriating and make no logical sense at all.
hmm.
And the entire film is just like one of those things happening after another.
I will say I
So
did start falling asleep during this movie, and I don't know if I could have just been. I could have just been tired though too. That's an element. But
no,
yeah.
I was looking down at my phone through a lot of this movie again.
But like, you know, I always try to be as attentive as possible, especially when I'm talking about it. And I haven't watched this in years, so. I will say, the first thing I noted is like I still, after seeing him even closer, I'm like, I don't like CGI Yoda. It just doesn't do it for me. I'm like, I just miss the old days of especially watching it back to back, this original trilogy to this. I'm like, I don't like seeing him up and close so much, and it's just awkward. I always find it awkward when there's CGI characters that interacting with live action because they're just standing there pretending there's someone.
And that happens all the time in this movie.
Yeah,
like horribly all the time. In fact, I think the behind the scenes of this movie, like Rick McCallum says, every single shot there's a special effect. There's a blue screen, something in every shot, and it's like, why is that a good thing?
Okay.
I mean, I guess maybe for 2002 that was like cutting edge or whatever, but
yeah,
surely they must have known like that like you're just setting your movie to look just terrible in the future.
I mean, and going off of that, what did you think of the whole sequence where Obi-Wan jumps off, grabs onto the thing, and he's flying around, and then falls down onto Anakin's
you mean
speeder.
The spot where Anakin should have been the person that did that instead of him, because that made like no sense for the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi we know him in this movie to do that.
That's true.
It made I'd like
he was going for a wild ride out there. Whoa.
He was like, okay, so I'm gonna quote the Plinkett review of this movie to you, because he does these fun asides with like, it's like, okay, so there are several things that Obi-Wan Kenobi did not know when he jumped out the window. One, that droid could support his weight.
Yeah.
Two, that he would even be able to reach the droid at all by jumping out that way. Three, that the droid was not also a small bomb that would explode if someone was to do something like that.
It was a wild play by Obi-Wan.
It was insanity. He just goes diving out the window.
Yeah.
It was,
and then the whole sequence, I was like, whoa, this is weird. This is like a comedy where they're like, whoa.
Oh yeah, and then, weird that whole weird sequence.
And then I hate that Anakin coming by on the speeder, catching him, and he's like trying to maneuver himself just right. It's like, right here.
Yeah, and then half of that sequence is a ripoff of Blade Runner. Like the whole cityscape just like completely ripped Blade Runner off, and I was like, wow, I'm not even the biggest fan of that movie, and I kind of wish I was watching that right now.
I mean, it was just a little wacky, and that's how you go into it. So that set the tone. You set the tone with, looks like there's no danger at all. Guess I was wrong. Explosion. And then he leaps out, and all this is like within a matter of the first few minutes of the movie. And like, whoa, it's a crazy ride we're in for here.
And then we have like a seedy, gross like strip club sports bar. It's not like a strip club, but there are like hookers. There are space hookers there and drug dealers, and then like they cut off someone's arm, and then they have like a police interrogation. This happens within minutes after of all this wacky hijinks.
Mm-hmm. And also the first like couple lines of dialogue from Anakin, it's like, all right, this guy's already a punk. He's like immediately rubs you the wrong way. He's like, okay, I mean, you can already tell little Anakin hasn't stayed as pure as he once was.
And Obi-Wan also thinks he's a punk too throughout like all of this entire movie.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan like hates him like the whole movie. He's like annoyed and
like he never listens ever. And he's like, I'm trying, Master. You're not really trying.
You're not, literally nothing in what you've.
He's an angsty teenager, and he just like storms off, and he actually throws things at one point. I do have to say, I mean, I have a note that's like Anakin already a punk, and then Annie catches Obi in speeder, and then Anakin already a psycho. Is the next one. He starts doing like crazy.
Tell us now. It was like, where'd that come from?
He has some weird, and I mean, I have to talk about as soon as possible. I need to talk about Anakin and Padme and he's creepy Anakin. He's so creepy. he's like I don't like sand. It's so coarse and rough against your skin. And and then he says something about
Here, everything here is so soft
and he reaches over slowly and like touches her back.
and she apparently liked that.
Yep, and it's like, oh, okay, kiss.
Even though almost everything in sequence before that was like,
oh yeah, I wrote down
giant warning signs.
Yeah, I wrote down a quote before that. She's like, please don't look at me like that.
It's making me
uncomfortable.
When a woman says that to a man, that means no. That means there's no attraction there. When a woman says
but
that,
apparently, no, we're getting the wrong idea. When a woman says that means, oh, it's heating up. That's a good lesson to take away from this movie.
It's really heating up when a guy gives you weird, creepy sex looks.
So please don't look at me like that. And then
you say, "Don't look at me like that." That means it's heating up.
And then
he continues to make creepy leers at her.
And then the kiss happens, and then there's a immediate red flag where he starts talking about like dictatorship. That could be cool. It's like whatever it takes.
Yeah. Before that, though, one of my favorites is how he like starts talking over her at stuff that she knows. They're like on her own planet. They go back to Naboo because so basic plot structure of this movie: Palpatine is again causing a crisis by stuff's happening. Basically, he's he's basically forcing a separatist movement to happen from the Republic, which is causing this big, it's a mass exodus of a bunch of Senate members under this guy Count Dooku, who's played by Christopher Lee, doing his best he can with what he has. So basically, Palpatine is causing this to happen. He's Chancellor now, and so in the midst of this, Amidala is the most important figure in like an anti-war movement. She doesn't want to have the Republic raise an army. She thinks we need to solve this diplomatically. There has to be another way. So there's been assassination attempts on her. So the Jedi Order sends out Obi-Wan and Anakin to protect her or whatever. So then they get caught up in this whole conspiracy with these bounty hunters and everything, which none of that really makes sense because it's like, why did Jango Fett send a changeling bounty hunter who can disguise themselves even though they're trying to hide their face, even though they can disguise themselves? Why did he hire them to do his job when he could have just done it way more efficiently? And so that all happens, and that leads to the whole Obi-Wan goes on this wild goose chase, and he finds, they're raising a clone army for something. That's weird. And then meanwhile, Anakin is taking care of Padme. He's tasked with taking her back to her own planet to go in hiding, and they disguise as refugees. So, but when they get to there, it's like Amidala talking with the current queen. And she's like saying like, "Oh yeah, we'll go to these places," and I kind of know what's happening. And then Anakin's like, "No, excuse me." He like interrupts her like while she's talking to like. She's like, "No, I know this place." He's like, "No, I'm the security detail." She's like, "No, this is my home. I know what I'm doing." He's just like,
"Oh, sorry."
It was like, it's just like, it's so bad. It's so uncomfortable to watch. Okay, so I know people are like, people say give him credit. The dialogue was terrible. He was doing the best he could. I don't think Hayden Christensen is that good of an actor. I've seen him in other movies, and I don't think he's that good, to be perfectly honest.
He's just stiff in general, but I mean a lot of these the characters in these movies are pretty stiff, but
yeah. Well, that's the problem, is that this is supposed to be like the height of Anakin and Obi-Wan's friendship. And yet we get this idea that Obi-Wan just kind of finds him really annoying and arrogant.
Yeah, there's never any sign of respect.
Yeah.
In one way or the other.
No, it's kind of awful.
But then just like in the personality of Anakin, it's just like he's very like monotone, but then it's just like, boom, he starts freaking out, and as if he like seems unbothered, and then he's freaking out. He's like,
yeah,
God, it's because of Obi-Wan. And he's throwing
like,
stuff.
What is it? What? It's like, what do Obi-Wan have to do with any of this? Yeah, it's.
And then Padme is seeing all these red flags, and she's like, "Yep, still on board with this."
Yeah, and it's like
this is a good relationship here.
The romance makes literally no sense. And then
you get a true sense that she has fallen in love with this man.
And of course, we have my favorite scene in the whole movie the fireplace scene
Ooh,
where
it's heating up.
where he starts basically I'll quote the Plinkett review again. He starts basically begging for sex, and she says no. And she says, and she gives the weird excuse that no, it's because I'm a senator. What?
Yes, I'm a senator. You're a Jedi.
And it's
It
like,
would never
okay,
work.
he's sworn an oath, okay, of celibacy or whatever. He can't love or whatever, which I think is there's so many things that they delve into in terms of the Jedi in this background stuff that I just can't understand and I don't like.
I mean,
They make them like weird, creepy, like monks for some reason. It's like I can kind of understand some of that, but like, why don't you let them like?
the celibacy thing is like something that even shows like Game of Thrones have stuff like that too. I've never understood. It's like, okay, you got to be hardened. Usually, it's like the idea is you have to be like hardened for battle and have focus and not be
It's
distracted. But
it's supposed to teach selflessness, so it like indulging in love for one person is kind of selfish in a sense. So
but
it's supposed to be teaching the Jedi that they need to have a selfless love for everyone in the Force, and to be like in one with that, don't have any distractions, things like that with the relationships. But it's weird.
yeah.
It's like
It's clearly
you don't.
here is clearly a mechanism just as conflict between this relationship, because otherwise it's like they're two young beautiful people, they just have at it. So it's like, no, we have to make it so no, they shouldn't be together, so we have to come up with this rule.
Except it's so weird because it's like, why did they send there's just really weird things about it, because it's
Why
like,
send
okay,
Anakin?
why send Anakin,
Yeah.
who's clearly having trouble with this sort of thing? Like, they send him
that,
alone, go with her.
like
Then-
Obi-Wan knows that specific woman is the thing he's like so hung up on too.
Yeah, they also, yeah. I've thought about her every single day since
Jesus.
that was just like he said that to Jar Jar, and I was like, what? If I was Jar Jar, I'd be like, that's a weird
Yeah.
Annie.
Pretty
And then
hot.
he's just leaving. Pretty
Pretty hot.
But yeah, well, yeah, and then it's funny because then she's like, no, we can't. It's like, but what have you been doing this whole time? You wearing like, okay, I don't want to be like the kind of person that's like, well, she was clearly like asking for
No,
it,
no.
you know? But like, when you're like, everybody does this. Men do this, women do this. When you're trying to attract people of the opposite sex, someone that you're interested in, you do and wear specific things to attract them. She's going around flaunting her body like unbelievably, like the whole backless thing, and then like
I made a
like,
comment.
the weird pseudo BDSM thing that she's wearing at the fireplace scene, like where it's like things coming down in the middle here, and it's like,
yeah.
it's just
I
like,
literally wrote down, it was like the relationship heats up quickly, outfits get sexier and sexier. As the movie progresses, like she has so many outfit changes, and it's like, oh god, wow.
Oh,
Damn.
I am a huge fan
Big fan of her work.
of the white outfit.
I was gonna say that.
That's my favorite outfit. I love it.
That's my favorite outfit in Star Wars, right there. When they expose
Pretty much.
the exposed midriff.
The exposed midriff. Yeah. That's great.
Those are my favorite outfits right there. So I mean,
Yeah.
Natalie Portman. So
Yeah, I mean, Natalie Portman is a very beautiful woman. So,
wonderful addition.
But wow. This
Love her
movie's
character.
But wow, yeah, whatever that is. So basically
But that's so much of this movie. Like just looking back,
yeah, it's like half the movie is focused
romance,
on this relationship.
Yeah.
And it's
Teenage romance.
Terrible. It's just terrible, and it's like that's what's holding. I mean, there's a lot. The worst part is that the other half of the movie is just boring.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
As much as I criticize this stuff, it was like I was begging for more of this the whole time. I was like, give me more of this hot romance between Padme and Anakin,
yeah.
please.
I mean, it's kind of like that part's kind of like a train wreck, but the rest is like. There's just like Obi-Wan goes to a weird retro diner and he meets a guy whose pants are falling down. Somehow this guy knows about this special dart that's weapon thing.
And then Anakin and Padme end up in the classic assembly line maneuvering, dodging things that are trying to press you down in an assembly line, which is what I always love to see in Star Wars.
Yeah. I
Like,
will say
whoa.
I do like the setting of Camino. Everything on Camino to me, I like that. That's always captivated me. I've always found the clone stuff like really cool. And Jango Fett's fine, I guess. I mean, I like the fact that Boba Fett was like an unaltered clone or whatever.
He's
That's kind of cool.
yeah,
Um,
but yeah, honestly, Obi-Wan's his
his
whole
whole arc,
little,
but
I don't like
besides
it.
that one blip, and also I will say, watching this again, I remember in theaters being like really impressed and excited about this. Is the the like super magnetic charges or whatever that the big explosions in the asteroid belt.
Yeah.
Those are cool. I've always liked that sound effect,
Okay. Yeah.
and then that's about it. And
Yeah.
everything else is just dull and boring, pretty much.
Yeah.
um,
Because you're cutting, but they were cutting between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and most of the time when they cut back to Anakin's, it was just like the romance stuff, which is like supposed to be the boring part, and it's like okay, let's cut back to the exciting part, but it's like I didn't really enjoy any of Obi-Wan's stuff he was doing.
yeah, so Obi-Wan's basically piecing together like, okay, so this guy who tried to kill Padme was the bounty hunter who's in charge of all the clones. All the clones, in fact, are actually modeled after him. This army is being raised supposedly by the authority of a Jedi Master Sifo-Dyas who died about 10 years prior, which is about when the first movie took place. And so you can kind of piece together that, okay, so Palpatine and Dooku have been working behind the scenes for a long time. They've been playing the long game with this thing, like building this whole army and doing this whole separatist movement thing.
Yeah,
Because Jango
real
Fett's
long game, yeah.
yeah, because Jango Fett basically is like, no, I don't know Sifo-Dyas. The guy I do business for is a guy named Tyrannus. You find out then Tyrannus is Count Dooku's Sith name. That whole thing is just not done very well. It's not exciting. It's not really that interesting. It's interesting enough, but it doesn't offset, like you said, it doesn't offset the awfulness of how it's silly and dumb the romance is. Okay, yeah. After all the Naboo stuff, they then go back to Tatooine because Anakin sees his mother dying,
Oh
and
yeah,
then his
randomly.
mother actually dies.
I feel like that was so random. He's just like, oh, my mother's dying. Let me go do that, just out of nowhere.
Because it had to be like we have to show an excerpt of Anakin indulging in the dark side in
Yeah,
this movie.
murdering
Basically,
Tusken Raiders.
kind of is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's another thing talking about slaughtering people like animals and women and children like animals, and then she's just like, yeah, it's okay. I
Yeah,
understand.
he tells her all this, and then he's like freaking out, throwing stuff. Obi-Wan, and she's like, yeah. I mean, and then it ultimately resolves, and I love you. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Very plausible. Very
So
plausible.
good.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what women want. Women want a violent maniac who only talks about himself.
She does apparently. I mean, she had all the red flags in the world. There's like, it's hard to feel bad for her now. At this point, it's like you saw.
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
he's unhinged. But aside from like the grand scheme of things, there's just a couple random moments that I found really weird too. And Star Wars does this in general. Even some of the good movies, they'll always have like start getting into this conversation, or like say Anakin says something and then Padme comes over and is like, "It's all right." I'm like, "Okay, this is gonna be an interesting conversation, cool." And then it just wipe onto the next scene, and it's like right in the middle. Where is this? Like in the middle of what I think is gonna be an interesting part or a conversation, and it'll just wipe away. I'm like, "Oh, all right, done with that." It's like they want to do as minimal in one take as possible, almost. But there was one part in particular where it's like they did the whole rolling on the grass thing, where they're like
That was like
rolling on each
that was
other.
like the only part. That was the only part of the relationship that I found like that's kind of slightly genuine. That feels like playful flirtation.
But I just found it so weird when she was straddling him at the end there, and then just wipe.
Oh
out
yeah,
of here.
that's weird.
And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh.
that's kind of odd. Yeah.
All right, and then there was another particular thing where she like at the end where she hops down onto the whatever it was that Anakin was on.
The lion
Yeah.
thing, or
And
no,
then-
that was the big beast thing, whatever.
She hops on. It's like a real quick smooch. It was like this quickest smooch I've ever seen. She's like, whoop, real quick peck on the like neck. Like, oh
Yeah.
God, just like a lot of the stuff when they're falling onto things is like really abrupt. I'm like, God.
I actually like the beginning of that whole sequence.
Uh,
That's actually one thing I like. That I
like
like
them chained up.
yeah, I like that. Like you felt it was a little bit more tense and interesting. Like they're not just using their lightsabers like we then see for
I
the
mean,
rest
it's a
of the
little
entire
tense,
movie.
but like Padme was immediately
I
out.
mean, it's not like that tense. I'm just saying it's interesting.
Padme, as soon as she was there, she was already out of that thing on top of
Yeah.
the pole. Like they did not do well with chaining them up.
I will say that this does have a line that I quote a lot. Patience, Viceroy, patience, she will die.
Oh, and another. I just wrote down random quotes as a thing I've gotten into on this
Okay.
journey. I've said a few of them along the way, but one in particular I thought was interesting. Padme says to Anakin, "We live in a real world. Come back to it." I'm like, what?
Oh,
We
there's
live in
just
a
so
real
many
world.
come back to it.
Lord.
Yeah, and then because it's like, oh, we could keep the relationship a secret, and she's like, no, I could never do that, but I'm still gonna wear sexy clothing.
And then,
Um,
and even in the beginning, Obi-Wan is like, is just so in your face on the nose. He's like, "Why do I get the feeling you're gonna be the death of me?" I'm like,
oh,
"Oh,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
that's a
stupid.
little in your face."
Yeah, I don't like
Why do I
that.
get the feeling that you're going to kill me?
Oh,
I will
you do we
die.
also want to do we also want to talk about how 3PO and R2D2 are awful in this movie? I hate them in this
Yeah, I
movie.
didn't. It was so unneeded that whole assembly line
The
mix up
assembly
with
line thing is just
C-3PO.
dumb. R2 with his stupid little thrusters or whatever that he's flying in on, and then 3PO with the worst puns I've ever heard in my life.
I'm beside myself.
I'm beside myself, and
What was
this
the
is
other?
such a drag.
Such a drag, yes.
Within
Classic
five
lines.
seconds
Yeah.
of each other.
Yeah, classic
Within
lines from
5
C-3PO.
seconds, two puns, and they're not good. They're not even like, haha, I can appreciate that as a somebody who likes puns. It's like no, they're just embarrassing.
I mean, I found them more humorous than Jar Jar Binks, though. Jar Jar
Well,
Binks
Jar Jar Binks
in this
isn't
movie.
humorous in this movie.
Yeah, in this movie.
He leads. It's Jar Jar Binks that completely goes against Padme's wishes and is easily and like obviously duped into allowing like the scene before it happens. There's like, if only Senator Amidala was here. If only she was here.
Yeah, if only
Like
someone could
it's
represent.
like it's done like that,
Yeah.
and he's just like, oh no, what am I gonna do? And then apparently because he's in place of the senator, he can then propose like sweeping legislation to no, we're gonna raise a Dello Feligates.
And everybody's like, yeah,
Yeah, let's raise a
Palpatine,
Grand Army of the Republic.
Palpatine.
Yeah,
The Honorable Jar Jar Binks. We respect. Yes, yes, Palpatine. Yes.
yeah, and then he's like, I love democracy. I mean, he's great. He chews scenery, and he's great in like every scene he's in. But
Also,
yeah.
the death sticks. That was a nice little.
I like that. I like that.
What are death sticks?
I don't know. Some
Are
drug,
they
I guess.
are they a thing in the Star Wars lore that are explained?
Spice, maybe they're a stick of spice that you do or whatever. Spice is like the drug of the Star Wars universe, so I don't
Oh,
like the big drug.
I'd like to sell you some
But
death
I don't-
sticks. You don't want to sell me.
Yeah, do you want to buy some death sticks?
You will rethink your life.
Rethink my life. Yeah, I like that. That's fun.
But that's the highlight of the movie for me.
That's too
Alright.
bad.
And then at the very end, just boom, married, and right in Naboo. It's like, and that's a beautiful way to end the perfect tying of the knot of that love story.
Yeah, we also have Yoda being jumping
Oh.
around with a lightsaber,
That's true.
which is I still don't know how I feel about that. I remember when I was a little kid, I really liked it because I thought it was fun. But now that I'm old and I look at the older movies where Yoda was, war does not make one great, and had like really wise sayings about like you don't need your weapons and the Force is the strongest ally you have, and it's like no, he's still like he's using a lightsaber, and it's like shouldn't Yoda be like beyond, especially with his size? Shouldn't he just be like way beyond having to use a lightsaber? I don't know. I've never really.
I mean, I
I'm
guess
kind of in the middle.
it's an interesting
I'm
way to do a lightsaber fight. I mean, you get that
yeah
huge height difference, so you can have
yeah
a little bit of a different way to do the fight. Have them jumping around and whatnot. Usually don't get that as much, but and it's like that's an excuse to be like, okay, it had to be CGI for something like that to happen, but
yeah.
I still don't like him as CGI. I just still don't really like Yoda that much in this movie in general.
Well, Yoda's a stuffy jerk. In the he really is not like a likable character in the earlier in the prequel movies. I don't think. I've never analyzing him. He's always like judgmental and like I mean that's another weird thing is that I guess Lucas was just sort of commenting I guess on like how I don't know if he was trying to say something about like separation of like religion and state or something, or if that's reading way too far into it. But like the Jedi are way too integrated with the Senate at this point.
Mm.
Like that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from this, and I feel like that was like a point he was trying to make, but it's so surface level. It doesn't really like mean anything, and it's just more weird than anything else. They do seem like I mean I guess you make the excuse that the dark side's clouding everything, but they just act so buffoonish that they can't figure out like especially when like Count Dooku basically tells him, yeah, there's a guy in extremely high power in the Senate who has control over everything. He's a Dark Lord of the Sith.
Yeah,
And
they're getting duped so
and they're
hard.
just like, who? Who could it possibly be? Well, I don't know. We'll have to figure it out some other day because we got a war to worry about now.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. And then it's like you have Mace Windu and Yoda are kind of like buddied up a lot in this movie. And
yeah,
it's like you think it would have some like great little moments there, but it's like
no.
they're just kind of
Samuel L.
there.
Jackson is like boring and not
Yeah,
the kind of character he should play.
they took his personality away from him. Really,
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with these whole movies is that they just nobody has a personality. It's
yeah,
like
yeah. Padme
the
is very like one note. Anakin's one note until he flips a little bit, and
and that's the problem with the romance. If you like the romance between Han and Leia felt real because we understood them as characters,
yeah,
because we understood their likes, their dislikes, their passions, the things they didn't like. We understood them because they felt like people. Everybody in these prequels feels like aliens, like Bizarro. I mean, I guess they are kind of aliens, but they feel like
yeah, and
they just feel so detached from humanity. Like you can't really relate to this plight of a romance because it feels like lifeless and sexless. It's surface level at best.
and
Um,
there's no chemistry there really.
yeah,
So
no, not
it
really.
doesn't feel like love, especially when like just you see Anakin being creepy and her not reciprocating it at first. So it's like, what are we supposed to take away from that? And then suddenly she's just
Even
the
even the
kiss and
kiss,
she's into it.
even the kiss didn't seem like she was that into it though. It was kind of weird. She sort of like looked over blankly and was kind of like, "What?" And then he just leans in and then she just accepted it basically. And
Yeah,
it
and
was
then
like,
she fell in love, and then it
apparently.
was a beautiful marriage.
Yeah, because then when she says, "I've died every day, you've come back into my life," I'm
God.
like, "What?
I've
Since when?
been dying
we haven't,
more and more.
we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that at all. At least with him, he's always acting
yeah.
like, "Ew,
And then,
ew,"
and then
like weird and
she
nervous.
said, she said, "I love you," and then she's like, "Deeply," and what does
Truly,
she say?
deeply,
Truly
I
and
truly,
deeply love you.
deeply love you.
She's like,
You've
she
known
could-
him for like 3 days.
yikes.
It's
But
so weird.
and she hasn't even thought about him since he left.
Yeah. Oh, you're still that little boy I knew on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Was the first thing
I
she
always
said.
had the hots for you though
Yeah.
when you were a little boy. Well,
Also, I do want to comment on the score since I haven't ever reviewed so far. I actually don't really like the score of this movie very much. I can say in my opinion, this is some of John Williams' weakest work. I know some fans they love Across the Stars. That's the love theme.
yeah.
I don't really like it. I've never really. It's just it feels too heavy-handed and inappropriate for this relationship. Like Across the Stars, you think of the star-crossed lovers like Romeo and Juliet, which is about the depth. Which is more or less the depth we get from these two characters. Except Romeo and Juliet don't call me on this. Romeo and Juliet, I think, was Shakespeare's commentary on. Well, there's a lot of different stuff in that at play in that play, but like, it was the point was that they didn't know each other. They were just kind of dumb teenagers, and that their passions for each other ended up being destructive because they didn't understand the ramifications of what they were doing, basically.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, they also had such heavy-handed foreshadowing too, like the Obi-Wan line about why do I think you're going to be the death of me, and then
the shadows. You mean all the shadow shots and silhouettes of Anakin with the bun where it makes it look like Darth Vader's helmet and stuff.
Well,
yeah.
that, but
I kind of like that a little bit.
That's fine. I meant more like where they're literally like, that we're gonna be. It'll still be the destruction of us or our lives or something, whatever. There's like, if we were together, this will destroy our lives. And they're like, yeah, probably. And then it's like you have no reason to really think it would destroy your life to be together right now, but it's like, yeah, it kind of does down the line, doesn't it?
Also, I hate the battle, the big battle at the end of the movie because it's boring. I don't like it.
I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like any of that.
It's just I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I feel like all of the action and stuff is executed much better it's even executed much better in The Phantom Menace, which is crazy to say. It's more interesting in that movie. The lightsaber fight's more interesting. The space battle's kind of terrible. But like the infiltration stuff is okay when they're like infiltrating the palace or whatever.
I really wanted him to like Anakin to be like, no, this is pod racing at some point in this movie. Just like, and like Obi-Wan falls down into his speeder and he's like, this is pod racing.
Star Wars Racer Revenge on the PS2. No. Anakin Skywalker in that is the older Anakin that you race as. And he even goes like, this pod race is gonna be so wizard. And it's just like, okay, I don't like that.
Itty hot. All right.
Itty hot.
All right. So well,
what would you rate this movie?
What would I rate this movie? I rated Phantom Menace 6.5 out of 10.
Did.
I would give this one 5 out of 10.
Okay.
And I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 because of Padme's beauty. Boosts it up 5 points.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because of the white outfit, I literally wrote at the end of my notes, Natalie Portman, white outfit, exclamation mark.
It's great. I mean, she's great.
And I think it's a great addition to the Star Wars universe.
I mean, she changes outfit like 10 times in this movie.
All the outfits are great.
Well, no, some of them are weird, and I don't like them.
You don't like
weird, like the fire. I don't like the fireplace scene one. It's just like it's so. Like it's
heavy. It's heavy. Like the whole the lighting of that scene.
Yeah, the lighting.
It's like, okay, this
body like crazy. Yeah.
This scene's not going to end any other way but just true love. The hottest of love. They're not gonna end and be like, yeah, we're not the best for each other. Let's part ways after we're at the sexy fireplace scene. You know where it's going.
Yeah.
5.
All right, I give this movie 4.5. It's not great, man.
God,
it's not great.
So creepy.
He is really creepy in this movie. And hey, kudos to everyone trying their best with their dialogue. I honestly, everyone has been giving Hayden Christensen more credit now. At least in this movie, I even his delivery of the terrible lines is not good. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah,
but it's just a miracle. That worked. The fact that he was like, he transitioned from this not liking sand into touching her soft, smooth skin to the
smooth
kiss.
Skin. It was a smooth move. All right.
It was great. So 5 out of 10. 4.5 out of 10. That gives us Tarqaron score 4.75 out of 10. Oh. That's what I like to see. Star Wars. You love Star Wars over here.
We do love Star Wars. There's the creativity is just not as apparent in this movie. It just everything feels like it's everything that's interesting, like the Coruscant stuff, is just ripped straight out of another movie.
Yeah, we kind of lost the magic of Star Wars along the way somewhere, haven't we?
Yeah, somewhere in this movie. I don't know. There's a lot of good setting changes, and that's interesting. But then we have like 2 desert planets.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And some
Camino again. I like Camino.
The wipe cuts are still here, so the Star Wars spirit is alive.
I felt like they weren't as apparent in this movie.
Not as apparent, but
yeah.
every transition almost. There was a really nice one. I forget what it was exactly, where it was like a wipe that actually worked with the scene, the lighting of the scene. They went with it. I forget where it was, but I was like, oh, that's nice.
Was it memorable enough to remember?
Well,
actually remember?
All right, that's it.
That's Attack of the Clones. Tune in next week. We will talk about Revenge of the Sith.
And
you'll see my standing on that one.
And The Force Awakens.
And The Force Awakens. So you can tune in and see my standing on both those movies.
A double dose.
You can see Zach standing on these movies. He's more the Star Wars casual. I'm like the core fan here.
Well, now I'm a hardcore Star Wars fan. So
now after Attack of the Clones, nothing's gonna make me more of a hardcore fan than that movie.
I'm just such a fan of that outfit.
It's a great outfit, man. It's a great outfit.
I'm a Padme stan. I'm here for it. All right. Thank you. That's it.